Hello guys, welcome back to another video. This is your performance management tutor Sir Uzair Awan, and this is the continuation of CVP analysis. This is the third video, and in this video we'll be discussing the MOS, which is called margin of safety. Okay, so margin of safety is the topic that we'll be discussing. In the previous two videos, we discussed how to calculate the break-even points, what is the concept of break-even point in terms of units and in terms of revenue. And then we discussed the idea behind the target profit and how do you calculate the target profit in terms of units and in terms of revenue. Okay. Now in the third video, we'll be discussing the margin of safety, MOS, margin of safety. Now margin of safety is basically the difference between the budgeted sales and the break-even sales. Okay. So if you have to calculate the margin of safety in terms of units, I'm going to explain to you what is margin of safety, the concept, don't worry. Just give me a second, let me just write down the formula first, that the margin of safety is equals to the budgeted sales, right? Whatever sales you have budgeted, that your company has budgeted, and you subtract it by the break-even sales. Remember the break-even sales? The first thing that we discussed? So whatever is the sales that you need to do in terms of units to achieve your break even, you subtract it with your budgeted sales to see what is the margin of safety in terms of units. Okay. Now before telling you the other formulas, let me just first give you the concept of the margin of safety. So basically margin of safety, okay, so let's say that you calculated the break even units for the company, because now you guys already know from the first lecture what are break even, number one, and number two, how you calculate the break even units, right? You know it now. So let's say you calculated the break even units for the company and you told them, see, you need to sell 10,000 units in order to achieve your break even. Now let's say I am the manager of the company, right? So once you told me that you need to achieve or you need to sell 10,000 units in order to achieve your break even, what I did is that I set my budgeted target or my budgeted units also as 10,000, because you told me that the break even units are 10,000. So I said, okay, if it's 10,000, if that is the number of units I need to sell to achieve my break even, so my budget for this year is also going to be 10,000. That our targets are to sell 10,000, right? And I implemented this and I handed over to my junior managers that this is what we want to achieve and this should be achieved at all costs, right? Now the problem with this approach is that if, for example, due to any reason we as a company are not able to achieve these 10,000 unit sale, we are not able to achieve the 10,000 unit sale, what will happen? We will not be able to achieve our break-even units, correct? Which means that we are going to go in a loss, right? So in terms of this particular example, our margin of safety, which is budgeted sales minus break-even sale, would be 0. There is no margin of safety, right? Are you getting it? Right? So what good companies do is, the companies who know how to actually achieve what they need to achieve, what they do is that when you tell them that, see, you need to sell break even units, you need to sell 10,000 units in order to achieve your break even, what they do is that they assign their junior managers to sell a budgeted unit, or they make a budget of 15,000, for example, right? So you told them that, see, you need to just sell 10,000 units in order to achieve your break even, right? And the managers want to only achieve break even, but even after that they have set the budgeted unit for the year as 15,000, which means 5,000 more than the break even units. And now this is the 15,000 that they're going to hand over to their junior managers, that this is what we want to achieve, right? Now what will happen is, because of this strategy, even if the junior managers or company as a whole cannot achieve this target, let's say they didn't achieve 15,000, they knew that we had a target of 15,000, they worked very hard, but they were already too many problems, so they were only able to achieve, let's say, only 11,000 units, right? Not 15, 11,000. So you're still ahead. You still have the 11,000 units which are greater than the break even units, right? So that means that your overall target has been achieved. You have sell the 10,000 break even unit because that was all you have to do. But you use a clever method and you set the target a little more than what we wanted, actually 10,000, just because so that your junior managers would work hard to achieve this 15,000. And if they won't be able to achieve that, they will somehow try to achieve a figure somewhere near. So if not 15, maybe 14, maybe 13, maybe 12, maybe 11, right? Even then we are still ahead of our actual target, you see. So now in this particular case, in the second case that I explained to you, if I calculate the margin of safety in terms of units, is going to be the budgeted units, which are 15,000 minus 10,000, right? So 15,000 minus 10,000, that means 5,000. So what is our margin of safety? 5,000 units. Now do you know what this means? Still be at a break even point. We will not go in a loss like we would have gone if we would have applied this particular strategy, right? So we will not be in a loss even if we achieve a sale of 5,000 unit less than what we budgeted. We'll still be in the safe zone, which means no profit, no loss. So we will not go in the loss. Do you get it? Is the concept clear now? So that is what margin of safety means. And the way to calculate margin of safety in terms of units, that how many units we have as a safety, it's budgeted sales minus break even sales. Got it? And if you want to calculate margin of safety in terms of revenue, dollar, right? Just take the margin of safety in terms of units. Just take the margin of safety in terms of unit and times it by, multiply it with selling price per unit. Got it? And if you want to calculate margin of safety in terms of percentage, how would you do that? Take your formula for margin of safety units, which is budgeted sales minus the break even sales, right? The same formula that we have for margin of safety units, you just copy paste this formula and you just divide it by the budgeted sales, okay? And then you times it by 100, times it 100, and you'll have your margin of safety in terms of percentage, okay? So margin of safety in terms of unit, you have your formula budgeted sales minus break even sales, okay? If you want to calculate in terms of revenue, then you have the margin of safety units times the selling price per unit. And if in percentage, that what is the amount in percentage, like what is the margin of safety in percentage? Is it 20%, 30%, 40%? If you want in terms of percentage, then you subtract budgeted sales with break even sales divided by budgeted sales into 100 and you'll have your answer in terms of percentage. All right. So with that, the concept is, I hope, clear, and these are all the formulas, right? Now, like always, I'm going to just give you a random question, okay? So selling price of a unit is $10 per unit. Then we have our material, we have our labor, we have our variable overhead and our fixed overhead, right? So material per unit is basically $4 per unit, okay? The labor would be $3 per unit. Variable per unit would be, variable overhead per unit is gonna be $1 per unit, okay? And fixed overhead is $20,000, okay? And we plan to sell, we budgeted or we planned to sell how many units? Let's say 12,000 units, okay? And now the requirement of the question, I'm not writing it down, I'm just dictating it to you. The requirement of the question is to find the margin of safety in terms of units, in terms of revenue, and in terms of percentage, all three, okay? So you guys know what to do. Just pause the video, try this question yourself, and then you can resume the video to see me solving and cross-check with your answer, okay? Alright, so I hope you guys would have tried this yourself first. Let's see if your answers were correct. So if I have to calculate my margin of safety in terms of units, I can do that by subtracting budgeted sales with break-even sales. Budgeted sales is already given to me in the question, 12,000, and break-even sales. Now, what about break-even sales? Yes, break-even sales are not given to you in the question. They are not given to you in the question. So what? So what, right? You know how to calculate the break-even sales, don't you? From the first lecture, right? So break-even sales, you guys know you're going to take the fixed overhead, 20,000, divided by the contribution per unit, which is 10 minus 4 minus 3 minus 1. That's going to be $2, right? So 12,000 minus 20,000 over 2. That is how much? 10,000. Okay, so that's going to be 12,000. 20,000 divided by 2 is 10,000. Okay, 12 minus 10 is 2,000. So in terms of units, we have 2,000 units. Okay, now in terms of revenue, if I have to calculate, just take the units. Just take the units and times it by the selling price. So that's going to be $20,000 in terms of revenue. Okay, and if I have to calculate in terms of percentage, so you know the formula is budgeted sales minus break-even sales. Budgeted sales minus break-even sales. Haven't we already calculated that? Budget sales minus break-even sales over here, that was 2,000. Yes, right? Divided by the budgeted sales. Divided by the budgeted sales, which were 12,000. So 2,000 divided by 12,000 into 100, right? 2,000 divided by 12,000 into 100. 2,000 divided by 12,000 into 100, and that's going to give you your margin of safety. So that's going to be 16.6%. Okay. So you see that we have calculated our margin of safety in terms of units, in terms of revenue, and in terms of percentage. Okay. So in terms of units, it's 2,000 units. In terms of revenue, it's $20,000. And in terms of percentage, it's 16.6%. Okay. So I hope that you guys understand this. Okay. If you are liking these videos, we have so far made 3 videos, right? If you're liking these videos and if you want more videos like these in which I cover this entire chapter, then please make sure to subscribe this channel, like this video, and if you have any queries, you can always comment in the comment section. Okay, I'll meet you guys in the next video in which we'll be discussing the break-even charts, okay, which is a very important area. So I'll be starting with that in the next video. Till then, take care, have a great day, bye.